everybody, and welcome along to this edition of The Final Whistle on lairmedia.tv. And our usual email is info@lairmedia.tv. And also subscribe to our channel by pressing the red button on the bottom right-hand side as you look at us. Find all these editions up on our YouTube channel and up on our social media platforms. Good evening, Anna Moore, and welcome again.
Good evening, Pat. Lovely to be here.
Great. And good evening, Brian Hinchy.
Good evening,
welcome
Patrick.
along to The Final Whistle. Great to have you. And
thank you.
We have another person. As soon as he's finished his coffee and croissants, he'll be in with us. I don't know, Derwin Owen, he'll be along soon. But you can see from behind me, we'll be talking a lot about the Olympics because they're all the rage now, obviously, you know. And we must admit, lads, the Olympics, there's still a certain special thing to be an Olympian and to participate as an Olympian in the Olympic Games because, as they said, it comes around every 4 years. There are not many people in every country that can go to the Olympics because of all the qualifications you must go through. So for someone to be even qualified is a huge thing. For a small country like ourselves, Ireland, it's a huge thing. Anna, is there excitement for you, obviously from your point of view, to be boxing, but generally speaking, is there a special thing about being in the Olympics?
Oh, I think it's very, very special. I mean, to me, the Olympics is the biggest showcase of sports in the world, you know, and to qualify, which it isn't easy to qualify as an Olympian. To me, that alone is winning, you know. That to me is winning because I know what it means to our boxers and what they had to go through in the last 5 years, especially in the last 18 months.
True.
To keep training through this COVID. It wasn't easy because they couldn't train together in Abbottstown, you know, and it wasn't just our sport, it was every sport, Pat, you know. So this time it was tougher than other times.
And Brian, do you look forward to it as well? I mean, we all have our own particular interests, but do you look forward to the Olympics? Is there something special about watching the Olympics and the sports in it, you know? And do you look forward to it?
Ever since the greatest Olympian we ever produced was ridiculed by this country, the Olympics comes and goes, and it doesn't really bother me. Michelle Smith, as far as I'm concerned. And the way I look at it is, no one wants to know who came second or third in anything. But in 100 years' time, if someone said who won a bronze medal in a certain Olympics, the one that you'd always remember is Michelle de Bruyne, for the simple reason that you'll remember her bronze medal because she won 3 gold ones.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's brilliant. I have to admit it. I'm a winner. I like to see people winning. And when the Irish win, I am way out there. But it's like our soccer team in a way. We're sending them out. We're sending them like lambs to the slaughter.
I know. But you know, do you find, Anna, what I know myself, do you find watching sports in the Olympics just because of the Olympics that you'd watch the sport, like archery? I'm thinking myself like beach volleyball with the Americans and they're, I'm just joking now, but
But did you see today what happened with the beach volleyball?
No.
I think it was the Polish team refused to wear bikini bottoms. They wore ordinary little bottoms and they were fined. They were fined so many thousands. And I mean, to me, that's wrong. I remember when
they wore shorts, did they?
Yeah, they did. But when they were bringing female boxing into the Olympics, they wanted Katie Taylor and the girls to wear little shorts and little bra tops, and they said no, they wouldn't.
That's
they wouldn't
mad.
Wear them.
It's just mad.
That's making sports sexist, and we don't want to make sports sexist. And the way I look at it is, if you're boxing as a woman, you're boxing as a man, there should be no difference. You're a boxer, end of. You're a volleyball player, end of.
Yes.
You know?
And now, Brian, we had Anna on here last week with us, and we were looking forward to the Olympics, and we were speculating where our medal, a few medals we might win could come from. And obviously, we were talking about the boxing and the rowing, the water ones, and all of that. Did you see Kurt Walker's fight at all, Brian? The first boxer.
I did. I felt, and I don't know if Anna will agree with me, I felt the Kazakhstanian or whatever you call him, he did a lot of holding on. He did a lot of, Kurt Walker tried to bring the fight to him. And a lot of the time he just put his arms around him and the referee had to break him up and they were hitting each other in the back of the head. And that to me is not boxing.
No.
No.
No, they'll give him so many cautions. But I found even now with Emmett Brennan's fight that he'd go in, not Emmett, he's the guy he was boxing with Pakistan. He'd go in, he'd land two beautiful punches, and then he held on the way Emmett couldn't box him. These are tactics they use in the Eastern Bloc countries.
Is it?
They always use those tactics. You know, I did feel in Cork Walker's fight that his opponent should have got a warning. But they're not inclined, if they don't really have to, they won't give the warnings, which I think is wrong. They should give the warnings.
Well,
you know?
I thought for persistent holding, really, as Brian said, for the boxer himself, I was putting myself in Kurt Walker's place. My God, you'd lash out if you were setting up. You know, it takes a while, and then a fella rushes in, and you're. I mean, it's so frustrating. Like,
which these will have done their homework on Kurt Walker.
Yeah.
They know that Kurt Walker, if you stand off him and you let him box you, he can beat you.
Yes.
So they try to get a punch or two in, then they'll hold the way he can't hit them.
Yeah.
And this is the tactics. But after 3 cautions, there's supposed to be a warning.
Yes.
Now, if when that contest was over, that referee will have to go to a jury, and they will analyze that contest with that referee.
Well, he intimated to Kurt Walker's opponent 8 times in 3 rounds, 8 times for holding. Now, as you said, Anna,
so when he goes to the jury will point that out to him. And if he does that again, if he does another contest and something similar happens, they'll step him down.
That's only right. Well, that's good to know now. I didn't know how it worked, because there has to be an assessment of referees and officials.
There are referees and judges are assessed after every contest.
Well, that's good to know as well, because I remember there used to be one time there was only 3 judges. Remember that?
That's right. There was only 3. Now we have 5. And there was a time, Pat, when we had 5 judges. We'd sit down to judge, and you thought you were judging. But before the contest would start, the computer will pick out 3 judges. And even though you're sitting there, the other 2 judges are sitting there judging, your marks weren't being used. It was only these 3 judges.
Oh, really?
What happened after the last Olympics? They changed all the judges, didn't they?
After the last Olympics, the 36 officials were stepped down.
That's right.
Now, whoever's out there, we have one referee judge out there, and he's very honored to be there. It's a long time since we had one. And they're being scrutinized out there. We have a new president. He's from Russia, and there's another investigation going on into Rio. It's still going on.
Yes.
And he's definitely trying to get the judging cleaner and all that. So if any of them is seen to be anyway dishonest, you'll see it in the score and you know it yourself.
Oh, you will.
They'll be removed. But those judges, I feel sorry for them in one way because they're being scrutinized over what happened in Rio,
Should there be a type of VAR system there?
Pardon?
Should there be a kind of a VAR system like there is in the football, where if the judges make a decision that there's someone...
There is a panel.
They look at it, but they don't look at it there and then.
No, there is a panel, right? Anywhere, we say, even at our championships. There is a panel. Now, they did take away a few years ago that you couldn't overturn a judge's decision, but that's gone now. Yes, you can now. What they'll do is you must object, and you must send in a letter within
In
a half an
writing.
hour after the contest, and that the jury will go away and look at that. Now, if they feel yes, you were wrong, they can overrule that.
And what
Oh,
would you
I
say?
see.
What would happen then?
The person that they felt that if your boxer, you felt your boxer should have got the contest, and the jury go away and they look at it and they feel yes, he should have, they will overturn that and give it to your boxer.
Wow, that's one way of starting World
Well,
War III.
Yeah,
That's
but I
very
mean,
good. That's
you
very
know,
good. That's very good. The Final Whistle is a program with Anna Moore and Brian Hinchy and myself here. And Derwin, apologies from our regular host, Derwin. He cannot make it tonight. But Derwin, we look forward to you next week. Anyway, don't worry about that. Something came up. Now, we had a few boxes. We had Irvine, or Kurt Walker, and that set a positive tone. But then, of course, we had Irvine and Barrett, Brennan, and Walsh, all
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah,
All
they're
gone
gone.
out.
they're gone.
No.
Michaela, I thought Michaela Testa is a very good Italian boxer, and she's beaten Michaela twice before. And this morning, I thought Michaela made a great start. She won the first round. She lost. She didn't turn up in the second round.
No.
The third round, it was very close. I thought Michaela might have just done enough to win it. But I spoke to my son. I was speaking to our register in Dublin, and they felt that Testa had that little bit more. I thought Testa in the second round, compared to the first round, she beautiful single jabs she used, and she had the height and the work. And I didn't understand why she didn't use the very same in the last round.
Yeah.
I personally thought that Michaela was landing more than she was, but
I thought
it was very, very close.
Yeah, did you see the fight, Brian? The Michaela Walsh Testa fight?
No, I didn't.
And of course, she's from Italy, and she's training to be a policewoman in Italy.
She's very, very good boxer.
And
I
then, of course,
saw two fights. How many more have we left, Anna?
We have 3 gone, so we have 4 left.
We have
four left, and one.
We have 3. No, we have 3 left.
We have 3 and Kirk Walker, which is 4.
Only 4. Yeah.
So we have tomorrow morning at 3:00, 3:30. We have got Aidan Walsh, who would be Michaela's brother.
Yes.
And he has a good draw. You know, I would expect him to win in the morning, but you don't know.
Who's he fighting? Do you know who?
I don't know. I didn't. I've looked at it, but I just looked into it.
I didn't look it
up. But
myself.
he's on the good side of a draw.
Okay.
You know, he's you have the champions on the other side. He got a good draw. He was one of the ones, very few of them got a good draw. Then on Wednesday morning we had Aoife O'Rourke from Castlereagh. She's boxing a Chinese girl who's world champion, European. But Aoife is a very, very technical boxer. She's very, very good. If she can beat the Chinese boxer, then she will definitely win a medal.
Right.
Can she beat her?
She hasn't boxed her, so I couldn't really say. I'd have to have seen him box before to give an honest opinion. I would personally think that the Chinese might be too strong for her, but I'm hoping I'm wrong.
Right.
You know?
And Kelly, when is Kelly in the ring?
Kelly's boxing either a Mexican, or I can't think who the other girl is anyway. She's boxing them on Friday morning at 3:00.
Kelly Harrington, and she's the number 1 seed, Brian, in her.
She is.
Yeah,
but saying about your number 1 seed,
our best chance of a medal, is she?
She has. But I thought, and maybe it might still. I thought 2 medals for the boxers.
Do you think so?
Because the preparation that they have hasn't been good over the COVID. Now there was other countries that had box cups, and they're boxing away the whole time in the Eastern blocks, you know, and those places where Ireland weren't left out of the country. They only got away once, you know. So
that's
terrible. Mean, as Kelly said to me, Kelly was sparring with the same girls, and they were southpaws. As she said to me, Anna, I needed variety, but they couldn't get it for us. So, you know, Kelly is Kelly, and I think Kelly, if the world champion is on the other side, and if Kelly and the world champion from Brazil, if the two of them, the place they can meet is in the final.
Right.
And I feel if they meet in the final, that Kelly will beat her.
Very good.
Well, that's good. And I think Walker would be good for a medal at least, I think, would he?
Well, you see,
No,
in his next fight now, he's a world champion.
he's playing the best in the world, yeah.
You know, and as I said, these are Eastern Bloc countries that have been boxing for the 18 months, where our lads haven't. But
yes.
Kurt's a lovely technical boxer, you know, so you don't know. Anything is possible.
Now, I don't know, did you see any of it's all about Olympics on this edition of the final, which we'll get to some local stuff in a minute as well. But the sevens, the rugby sevens of Ireland are qualified for the very first time for the Olympics. Obviously, their first two matches they lost.
They lost to South Africa and they lost to the USA.
Did you see any of them, Brian?
I just saw what they showed in the news this evening, the couple of the tries, yeah.
Yeah, I saw a bit of the two of them this morning on another channel, but
they're playing Kenya. They're playing
Kenya in Wednesday morning, isn't it?
Wednesday morning, is it, or is it tomorrow morning?
I'm not sure. Maybe it's tomorrow. But do you know, lads? Do you know what I'm very disappointed with? The coverage.
The coverage is shocking.
I mean, right? I follow boxing. Every other year, you could go into BBC, press a button, and you could just get boxing.
Yep.
If you followed judo, if you followed swimming, if you followed rowing, you press this button. We were here the first day. All of us will say involved in boxing in Ireland, and we were all texting each other and lads, how are we going to get it? Where will we get it? Because all you're seeing was when our boxer was boxing, that was the end. But where we actually wanted to see the good boxing, you know. And I discovered anyway that I had to get Discovery Plus.
Yes, that's right.
Discovery Plus, I bought it for $6.99 or something. Discovery Plus is showing all the boxing. It's showing all the live coverage, and you can go into which one you want.
So, Anna,
but if you have a Sky Q box, I don't have a nice high Sky Q box. Q box. You'll get the Discovery Plus on that free.
Oh, really? I didn't know that now, because Mary has one. Mary has
if she has the Q box, if she goes in and download or whatever, to get the app in there of Discovery Plus.
No, so instead of going up to Anna's house, I'm just going to announce it, lads, to see all the boxing on Discovery Plus. If you have
but it's not just boxing. They're showing all the live ones, and you just press on what you want to watch.
Yes, I understand that. Well, that's good now. So the rugby sevens have an outside chance, Brian, of qualifying for the next phase if they can beat.
Is it Nigeria? They have to beat Kenya, yeah. They have to beat Kenya for an outside chance.
Kenya, and if they beat them by 24 plus points, they'll have 5 points then, and there's the two best third place teams will go forward to the next one. So they have an outside chance of getting into the next. But still, I suppose it's their first time around. Another a sport that's not funded, because obviously we don't have a tradition of sevens in this country. But I think they're probably making the case for us to look at it again, because there are enough people who could play rugby sevens who may not necessarily not be interested in the big game, as they say, the 15s. But talking about rugby, the Lions won the first test against South Africa, which I thought was a good result, because I fancied the Springboks to win, but they did the business. What did anyone of you see that?
I just saw a small bit of it.
Yeah. I was watching the hurling, so I was in and out, and because the bench, the Lions bench made all the difference.
Yeah.
Who they brought in.
Now we have two. It's not my fault now, viewers and listeners, but we have two Fairview people actually on the program tonight, and it's not a conspiracy against anybody else. So let me say that first. But they've done a magnificent job up there in the club, Brian and Anna, as you know, and they did qualify for the FAI Senior Cup competition over the weekend, and they drew their match at home. How many was in there? 250 or 500 or something?
No. There was only 200.
200.
There was only they thought they were going to be allowed 500, and then they were told by the FAI that there'd be only 200 allowed.
Right. Anyway, were you up there yourself?
Of course I was.
And what did you think of the whole occasion yourself?
I was very, very proud of them, every one of them. I mean, this is a Premier League side, and they held them for 90 minutes. The goalkeeper, Young Savage, is very, very good. He pulled off some tremendous saves. But I thought Jamie Enright as well was very, very good. And Ross and the lads. But, afterwards, when I was talking to them, they were disappointed, but they were proud of themselves as well. I was very proud of them. We say Finn Harps are after having, I think it's 50 matches so far. This is Fairview's second match only. That was only their second match. And then when it went to extra time, then you could see the fitness, And when the first goal went in, you knew.
And obviously, extra time, that's 2 hours playing, And as you said, they're a senior side and have been a senior side for a long, 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 long time, Finn Harps.
Yeah, but they're playing their league as well at the moment, Pat. But Fairview, this is only their second match. And as one of the players said to me, Anna, if we were in the middle of our season, we it could have been different.
Yeah. And
where was that played?
Up in the Fair Green.
What was it? And they had both matches in the Fair Green.
Yeah.
Well, that was handy, yeah.
And they've done it all up. I saw photographs. I wasn't there myself. They've done it all up with extra seating and all sorts. Fantastic. Now across the road, of course, then for people who know Limerick, when I say across the road, down the road a bit, we'll say, from Fair Green, from Fairview, we had Treaty United got a home match as well against Dundalk. Now I thought Dundalk would win that match. No due respect to Treaty.
Yeah,
because they've been in Europe for the last 3, 4, 5
They're
years.
the cup holders, Pat. They won the last year's FAI Cup.
They did. And also, they're a fully professional outfit, more or less. And for Treaty United to put it up to them, let's be honest about it, they did put it up to them, because I was looking on Twitter, I was watching, we were down in Kilkee actually visiting friends for the day, but the few we've left. But Treaty United, I was looking at it on Twitter, and I was saying 0-0. My God, I said, if they could just get a goal to put the wind up Dundalk. But anyway, Dundalk won 1-0, which I said they did pay, because I heard the interviews on the stream after. I mean, Treaty United.
I think it's brilliant. I think for a team that's after coming in, I know they're only in the first division, but most of them are only coming from junior soccer. Tommy Barrett has done a great job with them. I mean, they're enjoying second place, Pat, which is brilliant for their first season in League of Ireland, you know?
Oh, yeah. Any club would bite off their right hand for the position that team are in. Yeah. Come back to the Fair Green. I played in the Fair Green when you needed climbing gear to get from the bottom of it to the top of it. And I also played in it as it is now. And if you and Anna will remember the hill. The hill and the mud, and you'd be above at the top. I played underage football up there, I can remember, and on a very wet day, the ball would be inside in the mud, and you'd have
trying to get it
15 or 20 young fellas, and they're trying to kick the ball out of the mud into the goals. Fairview Rangers have, as a club, Fairview Rangers and the Piershig, you could put the two of them into the same
bracket.
Same board, the same. They've done fantastic work. They've won major trophies, and they're great credit. They're the best. They're the best club in Limerick. And if you have a child that wants to play for a club, some people say Pike Rovers. Oh, Fairview is the club to send your kids to play.
But you know what I feel? Do you know what I feel? What has Fairview like that? Their players that won the FAIs, the 3 in a row, they're back there giving back to the youngsters what they were given. And that's what other clubs in Limerick are missing. They can't have school by soccer at some stages because they have no one to coach their players. Do you know what I mean? Yes. And the voluntary work that they're doing up there, we say, since the COVID is unreal.
Yeah. Well, I saw, I wasn't there physically yet, but I saw the photographs, and I saw the photographs you shared on Facebook with the work that went on there, and obviously it's a credit. Obviously there's I have to be careful when I mention Pike Rovers as well, the house that I'm in tonight doing the program. that's all right too, you know. If you see the lights going off later on, till you know the reason why.
But you know, Pat, what I believe, and I
Yeah.
believe it in boxing, I believe it about all sports. If you have a club, I don't care whether it's a soccer club, boxing club, any kind of a club, hurling, whatever. If you're keeping kids off of the road, that's all that matters.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. And I think you're dead right. Funding of these clubs, there's proposals every year to increase funding. It's into these clubs money should be going, not into anything else. Obviously, housing now, but if you're funding clubs, fund the grassroots clubs like Fairview, like Pike, like Caledonians, or whoever. Not in any order of importance. Fund these guys who have young lads, like out in my own neck of the woods in Shannon. I'm delighted to see that they have an underage team now, two underage teams, and under 17 this year. My nephew was playing with him, so that's why I like him.
And they can fund St. Francis Boxing Club as well.
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
But St. Francis Boxing Club, before we get off of boxing and all of that, how is that going, Anna?
Oh, we're flying it. But you know, we're actually the oldest ongoing club in Ireland. We were founded in 1928, below in the basement of Flannery's pub in Denmark Street.
Oh, because.
And my own uncles were there, and Seamus, my husband, the Lord Mercy, his father, Simon Bradish, he was one of the founders. Campbell's Aluminium, their father, Steph Sheedy was another one. I can't think now. I'd probably leave someone out. But the McInerney's, Frankie McInerney, they were all we say great boxing people at that time, and they all came from around that area, you know. But there are older clubs in us, but when you pay affiliation every year, some of them have broke affiliations, closed for a year or two. Since we opened in 1928, we've never closed our doors.
Right. And tell me, what about funding then and all that? How is the club funded? Is it the usual way looking for?
Well, we what you call it? I think our boxers pay €10 a year membership, and it's €3 a night then to box, right? But if it's different from soccer in that if we're bringing our boxers away, we pay for them. If we brought them to Dublin for 3 nights, they'd be fed and found and put up. Now, lately, we're inclined to maybe charge them half, maybe, because sometimes they don't appreciate. They appreciate more when they have to pay a little bit themselves. But like everything else, I think at the moment it's hard because we had all our own head guards, we had all our own boxing gloves. We can't, and gear, but kids can't use them now. They have to buy their own over the COVID. You know, so it's kind of expensive now for kids to get into sports like boxing.
They have to come into the club with their own gloves and take them home with them.
Yeah, they have to come into we got a seminar done by a doctor during the COVID to tell us how to run our clubs, what we should have in our clubs. You come in the door of the club and the sanitizer is there, and if you don't do it, you're sent back to do it. You sign in, you bring all your gear with you, you're ready to go when you come in, you put your stuff into the dressing room, you come out on the floor, and the bags are boxing bags that they use. When they're finished, they all have to be washed down for the next group coming in. So there's an awful lot of extra, and you have to have COVID officers in the club as well. And they have this registration form on the phone that they have to download, and before they come to the club, their parents have to sign this or they won't be left in.
Gee, that's a lot of work, Brian, isn't
How
it?
long were you actually closed for?
Pardon?
How long did they close you in the beginning?
We were closed. We're only barely open, and we're not back in full contact yet.
No.
They won't let us back. We can't have championships because our boxers not allowed to do full contact at the moment, and we cannot have any other clubs come in to spar them or anything because they won't let us back to full contact.
Before we leave boxing, Anna, St. Francis Boxing Club, have they had a few Olympians down through the years?
We've had one. We've Andy Lee.
Andy Lee?
Yeah.
I saw Andy out in UL boxing.
A gentleman.
that French guy, and Paul O'Connell came in and sat in front of me, myself and my father. So I tapped him on the shoulder. You know how big Paul is?
Mm.
I tapped Paul O'Connell on the shoulder. Well, I got an expensive seat from my dad. I said to him, any chance that you'd sit on the floor, we'll be able to see the fight. So, in fairness to the man, he realized he went away from where we were anyway, you know.
Well, we got a big extension to our club. We got the factory next door to us, you know, and when we got the go ahead for it, Andy came down and Paul O'Connell came down, you know, to recognise we were after getting it,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
But and our president of our place came down. But our like Fairview, my son, his wife, our president Derek Dewick, and a few of the parents, we were given a ridiculous amount, being told what it would cost us, 250,000, something like that, to build the break the two clubs into each other.
Yeah.
And they have done it for about 10 to 15,000 themselves.
Yeah.
By direct.
I'll tell you, it's got 3 boxing rings in it. There isn't a club in Ireland like it. And the work, like Fairview and the volunteers, the work they've done in that club, and they've done it all themselves.
Well,
we have an upstairs strength and conditioning. It's fabulous. They've done great work.
What we'll do, Anna, when it's fully functional again and fully open, we'll go down and do a program from there.
You're more than welcome. Well, if it's not up to me, I'd have to ask my son.
We'll sit in the ring, Brian, and put in the
we'd have to ask the president of the club.
The Final Whistle is the program. Let's tell all your friends about us. And I'm with Brian Hinchy and Anna Moore, and we're speaking Olympics and anything else that runs into our head. Now, the hurling over the weekend is coming to the I suppose the expensive end of the hurling, where if you're beaten now, it's all over till next year. So Cork beat Clare over the weekend, as we know, and Waterford had a phenomenal game against Galway. But as we know, Waterford were beaten in the Munster final last year by Limerick. And they were beaten in the All-Ireland final by Limerick. So we shouldn't be surprised that Waterford are still there. I think they'll be, in my book, they're second favourites behind Limerick for the All-Ireland, in my book.
I was watching the draw now and the things today, and we will either play Dublin or Waterford, or if Cork get through, it could be Cork. We can't play Tipperary sim.
What do you mean if Cork get through?
No, if they win their next contest, if they win their next match.
Yeah, they're playing Dublin.
Anna, as far as he's concerned, you should have said when.
When?
If.
Yeah. Yeah. But Cork are playing Dublin, and we'll give it to Cork. And I think Tipperary, but Waterford will beat Tip, I think, easily, because I think Tip are gone as a series.
No, I don't agree with you.
No?
I don't know. I think Tipperary are very good.
Yeah. The two best hurling counties in Ireland at the moment are Tipperary and Limerick.
But only one of them can win, of course. Now, if Tipperary beat Waterford, you could have a Cork Limerick All Ireland semi final, and you could have a Kilkenny Tipperary All Ireland semi final on the other side.
Yeah,
that would be good.
That'd be very good.
Yeah, as I said to a friend of mine last night in a moment of madness after watching Cork win, I said, "Oh, that's Cork and Waterford now for the All Ireland final."
In your dreams.
I was below Ballyheigue last Sunday in my son's mobile, and the father-in-law's in another mobile, and the daughter-in-law came up from the father's mobile at half time and told us to turn off the television.
Go away.
They did, yeah. My God, it was that. He's a Dublin man.
Oh,
that's turning off the television after 10 minutes into the second half.
So what do you think? So, I mean, obviously, Limerick are in the semi-final and Kilkenny are on the other side in the semi-final. So, look, I'd say Limerick will certainly make the All-Ireland final. I think they probably would be too strong for any one of Dublin, Tip or Cork, coming through.
If Limerick turn up on the day,
exactly,
there is no other county in Ireland that will come within an ass's roar. of beating them. And they proved that in the second half last week.
But they shouldn't.
They 15 points. They can't. They're 10 points down to win by 5 points against the second best.
But did you not think they made it very hard for themselves, though?
In the first half, obviously, Tipperary came out like a greyhound off the traps. They took it over. But whatever was said in that dressing room at half time, they came out.
Well, I tell you, my man of the match is John Kiley. Whatever he said to them at time, that's my man of the match was him.
He's the man of Limerick for the last 5 years.
Well, that match with Tipperary, I mean, there's a few things to bear in mind, and not taking anything away from the youthful and the stylish hurlers of Limerick. Tipperary, you must remember, nearly all their backs are at the wrong side of 30.
Yes.
All the backs, and that is their Achilles heel. Cork have a lot of young forwards now.
We have experience there in those Achilles heels too.
There are.
Remember that. And it's very hard to beat experience.
Yeah.
They ran out of pep. They couldn't run.
They probably ran themselves ragged too much in the first half. But whatever Kiley said to the boys at halftime, they came out. And the Kyle Hayes goal was something you'd see in a Rocky Balboa film. That it was just he ran a third or 2/3 of the field and batted the ball. It's brilliant.
But there's no doubt about it that they have won 3 Munsters now in a row, which is something that Limerick hadn't done since 1936.
Yeah.
In the era of Mick Mackey. So I suppose, I mean, they're a very young panel. People forget about that. They're still a young panel. So they could be the Dublin of hurling if they keep the hunger and they keep the interest. They're young as well, so you must allow for fall off as well with young people, you know. I mean, some of those young lads in the Limerick team have more won in the last 3 years with Limerick than their predecessors had never won anything meaningful and toiled away with great Limerick teams. But that does not take you away from the players that put on the green jersey down through the years, you know. But I think really there's great credit due to them. All the backroom team, they all seem to be on the same page. They all seem to be very unified, and they don't panic.
No, they don't.
Limerick for the last 30 or 40 years have always been there or thereabouts. If they had won in 94, they'd probably have won 3 in a row, I think. But they didn't. You have Cian Lynch there.
Yeah.
I think he's Kieran Carey his uncle or his cousin?
Yeah.
His uncle.
You know what I mean? To think that Kieran Carey is probably the last best player Limerick have ever had, and his cousin or his nephew is after taking that mantle now. I know Garrod is the player of the year, but that young Lynch lad, he when he has that ball on his hurley, it is magic. And
you're speaking there about Kieran and 94 in that famous All-Ireland final against Offaly. Remember? But Offaly had a fabulous team. Then they had Johnny Pilkington. They had all the Dahiry.
Remember, we had 60 minutes of that game where we had them hammered.
That's right.
We had them hammered, and in 5 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes, they just...
Joe Dooley.
Weren't we 10 points ahead?
We were, yeah. And what happened, the goalkeeper kept on hitting the ball out to the same fella.
Do you know, that's funny. Offaly won the All-Ireland in 1994. Clare won the All-Ireland in 1995. Now, Clare then were in the Munster final in 96. As you said, that was the famous solo run by Kieran Carey from his own backline and scored the winning point in 1996. And of course, we know what happened in 1996. Wexford won the All-Ireland.
97.
97 then, Clare won it again.
Won it again, yeah.
They did. 98, I don't know who won it in 98. I forget.
Oh, it must be Cork when you're talking like that.
Cork won in '99, and the reason I say that is this: I was at that match in the Hogan stand, the old Hogan stand, and I asked the teller at the gate because they were knocking it after that All Ireland final
Right, yeah.
to get me back the stub of the ticket. So I had the full ticket at the last All Ireland held in the old Hogan stand for my sins. So that was in 1999. It's a long time ago now. But we think Limerick, I think to be a pity if Limerick can't do 3 in a row in the All Irelands.
Be great.
It's there. It's there to be lost. If you know what I mean, it's theirs to be lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best team, if they, if they come out like they did in the first half against Tipperary again, they're not going to win. They're not going to come back like they did.
No, there's a one-off. Yeah, there's one-off games that happens, and they only happen they seldom happen really. I remember Cork were 12 points ahead of Tipperary down in Simple Stadium in a championship match. They couldn't have beaten by more. Tip came back, and Cork were lucky to draw with him in the end. That was when you had the.
And then you had the look, Pat. Aaron Gillane. Aaron Gillane should have been sent off. He should have. I don't care what anyone says. You have people coming along and arguing that he didn't.
No, it was a sending off
offense. Who was behind him? He pulled back in the hurley. He should have.
It was a sending off offense, but I was whatever 100%. About that, and we're not going to gloss over it. But if you strike someone with a hurley, it's a red card. But Gillane himself, I was wondering why Gillane didn't start. Because he totally changed the game for Limerick when he came on.
He did, yeah.
You'd have to ask John Kiley that.
Huh?
You'd have to ask John Kiley that.
Mm-hmm.
I know, yeah, but I was just wondering because his touch, his passing, his flicks, his scoring, his vision, everything was, maybe there might be, you don't know what's going on.
You don't know what's happening in the background.
No.
You don't know. People might have.
That's why it's called sport.
It does, yeah. Now, the football, there was a few football matches over the weekend as they were shocking again as usual, all one-sided. So we have Kerry versus Dublin in one All-Ireland semi-final, and we have Mayo probably playing Monaghan in the other All-Ireland semi-final, and probably...
Who did Kerry beat at the weekend? Was it Tipperary or was it Limerick?
Sure. I think Cork only sent down the jerseys. They forgot to send the players with them.
I thought Cork didn't put a team into the competition this year. They might as well have not.
But you have to look at it. Listen, my daughter-in-law is a Kerry woman, and she was there watching it. We had to take the child and all out. But Cork in the first half, it was like Tipperary. Cork played very, very well. It wasn't a great game, but they went 3 ahead. But when Kerry came out in that second half, they bombarded them.
I don't even know where to start.
Like you're stammering, Pat. It's not like you to stammer now.
I'm conscious that we're recording this, so there's words I cannot use, but they were shocking. They were a disgrace, and the whole management structure, everything. This is not an excuse. They just have to say goodbye and clean the slate and start anew. They're going over with that panel.
Is it the biggest beat the Kerry team has ever given a
It is. I remember I was at the Munster final with my dad in 1974 in Killarney when the old cement wall all around the pitch. It was the last match. They brought on Mick O'Connell as a sub that day in 1974, and he had won an All-Ireland back in the early 60s. Let's tell you how bad Kerry were going at the time. And Cork were after winning the All-Ireland the year before in 1973 with a 19-year-old Jimmy Ballymurphy who got 2 goals and a point. That's really first in the 73 All-Ireland football final. But in 74, it was 7 points to 6 at half-time in favour of Kerry because, Cork were All-Ireland champions. But in the second half, Kerry only scored 1 point. From Brendan Lynch, Dr. Brendan Lynch, he became Dr. Thing. But anyway, they brought on Mick O'Connell in the second half. But that Cork were dominant then. But they should have won a few.
The thing is, Pat, Gaelic football is dead. It's virtually impossible to watch it. I was just watching Reeling in the Years there tonight from 1983.
Yeah.
A 12-man Dublin team beat a 14-man
Galway
team in the end. And the thumping and the baiting that went on, and even the little clip they showed on the television, that was football. I mean, I played Gaelic football at a high enough level, and I loved the game, but I can't watch it.
1983, you mentioned that's the famous Kieran Duff was sent off in that and a few more of them in Galway. But Galway had a smashing team then. But Cork held Dublin to a draw, and they came down and played Cork in Cork. My God Almighty, Dublin annihilated them the same day.
Pat, what happened? I mean, Cork were one of the strongest hurling and football teams in Munster. I mean, back in the 70s, most times the Gaelic rounds, you wouldn't be able to walk out there. And it was mostly Cork and Tipperary.
That's right.
You know, and Cork and Kerry.
From
all of a sudden, what's happening with Cork that they've lost all that momentum and everything?
You're right. From almost 1969 to 1989, I think Cork won a senior Munster title every year, Irish football hurling. I think that's just off the top of my head. But I think, first of all, you must remember the city clubs in Cork City like Blackrock, Glen Rovers, St. Finbarrs, Na Piarsaigh. They were all very strongholds of both hurling and football, because Sean O'Halpine came from Na Piarsaigh, as did John Gardner and all of them. Those clubs in the city are decimated with a combination of the tradition in the schools died out of Gaelic games in some of the secondary schools, like everywhere else that has happened. The tradition of football, particularly in the city, and hurling. You look at the Coxine football team, the Coxine hurling team. I mean, an awful lot of the players are from the county, and the city is where most of the people live. Cork City, and the Cork didn't win a senior club championship, I'd say, in 30 years in hurling. In All Ireland, I'm talking about. So the hurling has been under severe pressure for rugby and soccer, and competing with everything else as well. Young lads aren't interested. Like I'm not saying my own son and grandson will be playing with Cork or Clare or whatever. It's where they're like I took up playing thing because it was the only thing in the parish, but it's where your peers are playing. Like my grandson, all his buddies are playing soccer, so he's playing soccer.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But the GA got very complacent about looking after their very young age players between 12 and 17. They got very complacent looking after them, and they lost an awful lot of them. That's only my opinion.
Oh yeah, you're right, because with the Limerick hurling the way it is at the moment, you're going to have good Limerick hurling now for a good few years.
Yeah.
Because the young fellas will be interested in that. But going back to winning. Last week when Kilkenny won the Leinster Championship, I was amazed. They said that I might have the numbers a little bit wrong. That was their 76th Leinster Championship.
That's right.
And I thought that no one could beat that. And Kerry beat Cork yesterday in their 84th or 85th Munster.
Wow.
So when I was growing up...
That's unbelievable.
It is. When I was growing up, I mean, you must remember Kerry won the Munster title. Kerry won 9 Munster titles in a row. And we were tired of going to the Munster final because it didn't really matter in the end.
That's the way it was.
So
as I said, Annie, you're talking about the hurling. If you look at it, I have the figures a little bit wrong here. You had Kilkenny with 37. You had Cork with about 34 or 5, and you had Tipperary with 27. And then you came all the way back to Limerick with 7.
That's right, Kilkenny, Cork, and Tipperary.
Yeah.
Those three counties dominated.
Yeah, 1884 was the founding of the GA, and Cork are the only county, thank God, they're good for something, that have done the double in the same year. 1890 and 1990, they won the football and hurling in the same year.
Yeah. That's great.
But that's just a little history for people who might know about it. But
well, that's something to cling to after Sunday,
yeah. The final whistle is the program with
this
Anna
program
Moore.
going out in Cork, is it?
We'll do a special on the history of hurling for Cork one of these days, lads. We'll go on a junket. But what have we to
I wouldn't be allowed into Cork.
I mean, what have we to look forward to? The second test coming up in 10 days' time against South Africa. But the Olympics are still ongoing. They're repeated. I'm trying to get my head around it. They're on live during the night.
Yeah,
They're 8 hours ahead of us, isn't it?
they are. Yeah, yeah.
They're 8 hours ahead of us. So when we're going to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. They're starting
Yeah.
the usual fare. Oh
Now,
yeah.
lads, we have a Limerick girl tonight in the Olympics, Caroline Hayes. She's in the triathlon. I think it's 10 o'clock or 10:30 tonight.
I hope she does better than the fella.
Yeah, he was what,
He was
48 or something.
he was 15 minutes behind plus the winner. Which
Well,
look,
I said it
it's
at the
great.
beginning of the program, Pat.
huh?
I said at the beginning of the program, we're sending these people out to be slaughtered, and then hope at the end of it we come back with those couple of medals.
But Brian, hold on a minute now. These qualify for this, and in my opinion, if you qualify for the Olympics, then you're entitled to go there.
You are
That's
an
my
Of
Olympian.
opinion.
course, you're entitled the same way as in even in football in England. You have the same 5 or 6 clubs that are winning everything
Yeah,
over and over again. That doesn't mean the other clubs shouldn't be there.
exactly.
But it's. I told you at the beginning of the show, Anna, I'm a winner. I like watching people win.
Well, you
Well,
see, it's all right saying that. I like to see my boxers win, and I like to
Of
see people
course,
win.
yeah.
But I also think people that give so much time to their sport and put it in deserve it as well. They've given 5 years to their sport to try to qualify for the Olympics. They could train 8 hours a day, whatever they do. And this is the pinnacle of their sport. And also, I'd like to congratulate Roisin Upton on getting in the hockey for getting a goal against South Africa the other day.
Another Limerick girl.
she
Yeah,
did.
another
Yeah,
Limerick girl.
they had a good win against South Africa. They were beaten by the Netherlands, but I mean they're the gold medal favourites.
Yeah, they were beaten 4-0 by the Netherlands.
They're playing Germany next, is it?
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
So that's a crunch match for Ireland. Now, I don't know. I must look at the tables. They're talking about if they could get a draw. I don't think you should ever play a match to get a draw. You should always
No,
play,
no, 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 no.
You should play a match to win it. You know.
And
Yeah.
you know what I'm looking at this Olympics, you've got Ireland has other sports like we have Reese McLennigan or something is his name.
McClenaghan, yeah.
He's in gymnastics and he's through to the final.
That's
He
right,
is.
yeah.
You know,
And
you have what's her name, Mona McSherry, right?
Yeah.
She's in 8th place, but she qualified for a final as well. You know,
And
and
another
things that weren't done.
That the chap in the taekwondo. It was first time anyone from Ireland ever
That's right.
got in from. And look, I know I totally agree with what you're saying, Anna. His family, everyone around him, and as you would be with the boxers because you know him. You're there with him. You probably know all of them to talk to.
I've been with them since they were little girls of 11.
Yeah, and it is at the end of the day, what these people do, they do it for us.
Yeah.
They do it for us. And I have to be sorry to say there's an awful lot of sports people aren't doing it for me.
Yeah, I mean, you'll always get
It's
that.
my
I mean,
opinion.
I must tell you, when you look at the size of the United States of America, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, well, Ireland, and we have had as many medal prospects out of our 7 boxers than America would have potentially in winning a medal at the Olympics. So you can see we can punch above our weight.
But remember, that was until Billy Walsh went over there.
Yes. Yeah.
Now they're winning medals.
I thought I made an observation on the boxing. I thought some of the boxers. I don't want to pick out Irvine and I thought their punching wasn't as crisp as their opponents. Wasn't as fast. Or was that my eyesight?
No, but this is what I'm trying to say to you, Pat. They haven't had spars.
Yes.
If they have spars, they're sparring each other. They weren't able to go to training camps. They had one in Belfast. they had one. They had one in France, but they had to come home because of the COVID.
Yeah.
You know,
And there was
so
no
it's very,
contact.
very
You were still
hard.
end up
Then
with
it's
no
very hard
contact.
when you're in against someone that for the last 18 months are going to box cups or doing all of this, and they're not allowed to do it. They're only back when we were out of boxing for nearly a year. They were out of Abbottstown for that time as well. So you know, I think they're not as sharp, but for having no boxing, I think, especially in the qualifiers in Paris, I thought they were exceptional. And
Yeah.
this is what as Brian said, and it's true. This is an Olympic Games. You know,
I
this
know,
is an
and
Olympic
I know,
Games.
and who is the main coach? Is it that chap from Hungary? Is it?
No, he's from Georgia. Zar
Or
Anthony.
Georgia? I beg your pardon.
Zar Anthony and John Conlon from Ulster. Mike Conlon's father.
Yeah, I know John. I saw John Conlon.
Yeah.
That's who I recognised.
Yeah.
And then Bernard Dunn is tasked with being the high performance
Director.
What does he do?
He's supposed to
Yes, his job, I mean, sorry.
His job is supposed to organize camps for them, run everything that's outside of training boxers.
Yes.
You know,
all the other administration of the boxing.
yes,
like,
he should be administration, but I suppose
like friendly, like those. Do you remember those very successful tri-nations and triangular tournaments with Wales and Scotland and England and Northern Ireland and Republic? Do you remember those tournaments? What happened?
They were called the Celtic Games.
Yes.
And then it was called the Four Nations. We used to have one with Scotland, Wales, no, not England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, and Canada.
Yeah. Didn't they serve the purpose of?
They were brilliant.
They were fantastic, I thought.
And then you see, they called them the Four Nations because then they wanted England in. So you had England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales.
And why did they stop?
They stopped because England fell out because Ireland were winning too many.
The usual.
My husband went as one of the coaches to Edinburgh. He was one of the coaches in Edinburgh. And he said when he came home, he got embarrassed. I think we won 10 goals. He said, all we were listening to was the national anthem, he said.
Ron Levine all night. Yeah.
It was like when the AIL, All Ireland League in the rugby came out.
Of course, I mean,
Leinster thought that a team from Leinster were going to win it every year. And I think Munster won 5 out of the first 6. And think that they did not like that at all.
No. And also the boxing, I think they should consider reviving some form of that when we're up and running again fully.
See, before we had a lot of internationals in the stadium.
Yeah.
Gee, you'd have 5 or 6 internationals. But since high performance have come, we don't see them at all in the stadium. Right. You know, if you go back, we'll say, oh God, when Andy Lee and we say all of those were boxing years ago, you'd go up to an All Ireland that senior titles at that time. They'd be 100 to 200 people waiting to get in.
Yes.
Now the tickets if we're lucky, if half the stadium is full.
Why is that?
And I tell you, if you ask the kids, and this is the sad part for me, if you ask the kids who our elite champions are, they wouldn't know. Before they could quote the names of you because they're not seen. They're not seen.
Do you know, Anna, I remember not so long ago, probably you too, Brian, when it was a huge night, 2 nights a week, RT gave over
ringside
boxing championships, and you had the likes of Mick Dowling and all the usual heads around the studio, and the buzz was fantastic. You had the Christies, I remember. Was it Christie?
Yeah, Joe Christie then. And then before that, then you had what was called ringside of a Friday night somebody said what happened was when what was his name? Gogan? What was that guy took over the sports place?
Fred Cogley.
Fred Cogley. When he went in, he cut the boxing out.
All right.
And then what's happening? It's now when we're having our senior championships, it's Tina G does it.
That's right.
And the reason is when RTE were doing it, they told us who they wanted boxing on it. So you'd have maybe 10 contests, and the first 2 that should be in the middle would be put on first, and they pick the 5 that they wanted to see.
Oh, for God's sake.
Basically, since we started getting better at boxing, there's a lot less being put into it.
Yeah.
I think
at grassroots levels.
But what about the administration of boxing in Ireland? Surely plaudits to TG Cahir. Only for TG Cahir,
they're very good.
We wouldn't even know how many weights are being fought for in our national championships. I mean,
Well, they're after putting our weights up now again. We had 10 weights at men and 10 at women, and now they're gone to 13 for the men and 12 for the women from the 1st of August.
Go away.
But I can't see the sense.
Michelle Smith be involved in that?
Whom?
Michelle Smith.
She might be.
Yeah, because she does the she always did the commentary for the boxing for TG Cahir for the Olympics.
No, I tell you who does it now for us is Sean Brannock. Is that his name?
Sean Bon Brannock.
Yeah, that's who does it.
Skeela Mac and Bubbling, Sean Bon Brannock.
He's the one that does the commentating.
On Donnellyucht or TG Cahir. Sean Bon. Sean Bon is an institution himself. Sure. He did a fabulous documentary on Mannion. You know, the man from Connemara. Sean Mannion.
Yeah.
He must be in his 90s now, is he?
Well, I'd say he's nearly the 80 anyway. But he's very good. He was always loved boxing. He does the commentary on Radio na Gaeltacht as well, of course, obviously. But we're seeing TG Cahir, only for TG Cahir trying to flag. Our national broadcasters should, any national competition, like they showed Cork City Sports, they showed our national your athletics championships from Athlone. They've shown that on RT, to give over. And I remember Brendan O'Reilly doing special programs on athletics, sports stadium and all of that. They're all gone now.
Yeah.
And as you said,
I used to love to see the athletics. I used to love watching the athletics.
But I always said about Ireland is do what you do best and do more of it.
Yeah.
What do we do best? Boxing is what we do best.
It is
so
our premier.
We should be pumping the money into boxing.
It's our premier.
But see, what you have to understand as well, right? We get our money from the government, but most of that goes to high performance.
Well, what's this high performance about?
High performance is out in Abbottstown. It's our elite boxers, which are those that would be the elite champions. They're brought
like
out to Abbottstown.
They're an academy.
They're an academy, yeah, for elite boxers.
No, that in itself, Anna, should be a good thing.
But what about the youths, the juniors, and the schoolgirls? When we're trying to send them away to Europeans and World Championships, and we have to scrimp and save to get the money for them.
Yeah, but like take rugby. Since rugby, I think it was 96 or 97, the rugby became professional in Ireland.
Yeah.
Look how far our rugby has come since it went professional. Since the academies, since and we have won a Grand Slam since 1948, was it?
Yeah, but you look at rugby, professional rugby union in Ireland, it's still a minority sport, number one. Number two, it has destroyed club rugby.
Yeah.
But that's what professionalism does.
Yeah.
Professionalism, it goes back to what I said, lads, about winning. If you want to win, and that's what sport... Now, I go back. Maybe that's not what sport is about. No. Sport should be about participating.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it's about winning.
Sorry.
Well, that's right. We'll be finished jumping in soon. But I think that what you're saying, Anna, is true. I think the intermediate, national intermediate boxing finals there's a very high standard there as well. And as you said, the juniors...
There is,
there should be money put aside for all of that.
I spoke to Mr. O'Brien. He was involved in the Sports Council when we were over in London at the Olympics, and I spoke to John Lynch, who was at that time chairperson of our board of directors, and I said to them, I said, money. It's the youths we need to put the money into. Katie and the lads are there, I said, but we need those that are coming up now.
Behind them.
We need to be using our youths and them now, because they're going to be the ones that will be representing us for Paris. And we have, in the last year to 2 years, we have lost so many good boxers and great boxers because they don't feel there's a pathway there for them.
Right, and that comes back the full circle, like we were talking about soccer in Limerick. Now the junior clubs in soccer, like the Fairview Range and all that, there's a pathway to senior soccer for them.
Yes.
Through Treaty United. There's a pathway for young lads. That's how you keep your talent.
We've lost. It's so sad. Every week I pick up a paper and I see another very good Irish champion gone, and it's so sad because they don't make it in professional boxing. You have to be something very, very special to make it.
You do. And
they don't make it.
And they're only being used as journeymen.
Now, maybe what we should be doing is getting the one organisation in Ireland that does it right all the time. And they're still amateur. And who's that?
Boxing.
The GAA.
The boxing are amateur.
The GAA.
Yeah, but...
They're not, but when you get good enough at the boxing, what do? You go professional.
Yeah, but they can't box then as amateurs. So they,
But Anna,
the difference between amateur boxing and professional boxing. Amateur boxing is a sport. Professional boxing is a business.
It is.
Like every sport.
And I think that Katie Taylor, I won't say she's lucky. She is very, very talented. And that is why she succeeded. As you said, look at the light. Is your man still knocking around the place? I don't mean it in a disparaging way. Is Eric Donovan still boxing?
Eric is boxing. Eric is doing the commentary on RTE at the moment. And Eric Donovan is a gentleman. And he's a great broadcaster. He's very good at broadcasting.
He's brilliant. And he turned professional, didn't he?
He did, yeah. But we say I don't mind the lads when they give up boxing going professional. Eric's been to the Olympics. They've all done their time as amateurs. And you know what is brilliant to see as well? I look at the likes of Eric. I look at Paulie Kingsella. I look at my own Kenneth. I look at Liam Cunningham. All of these lads that represented Ireland at Olympics, at Worlds, at Europeans. They're all back on each eyes. They're all back in their clubs, have opened clubs, have went back to their clubs, and now are leading their clubs.
And what about Jason Quigley? Do you remember him?
He's above in Raphoe in County Donegal. He's professional as well. I think Jason has a contest coming up around the 3rd of August.
And how's he doing? You probably wouldn't be able to keep tabs on all of them anyway.
The only thing that I know about Jason is, and I don't like professional boxing. The only reason I follow some of them is because I knew them as amateurs.
Yeah.
But Jason left America, came back, and as far as I know, he's in Andy Lee's stable at the moment. And he had a contest there about a few months ago, and he won. So he's back to winning ways again now, Jason is.
Yeah, it's a very, very tough game to be in.
Very tough. Very.
And it's not getting any easier because I don't know, lads, there was one time when you became heavyweight champion of the world, but there's about 5 or 6 organizations.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with professional boxing. You have, what's his name? Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua.
Tyson is my man. I love him.
Who?
I love Tyson Fury.
If Tyson Fury doesn't get a fight with
Joshua
in the next 6 or 7 or 8 months, he's going to retire.
Who?
Fury.
Tyson.
He lost
Tyson Fury boxed away with my son in America for Ireland.
Yes.
Tyson did.
He did.
No, lads.
But he couldn't prove He couldn't go in for the All Irelands because he couldn't prove Irish heritage.
Now, lads, Discovery Plus, as Anna said, Discovery Plus on your Sky Q box, or you can subscribe to that channel by itself for £7 a month. Discovery Plus, and you can click. Is it, Anna? You can click on the red button.
Yeah, hold on. I'll show you this one now. I'll show you
on
this.
any of the sports that are going on in the Olympics, the 32nd edition of the Olympic Games. But look,
can you see that?
I can.
Watch the size of me and
Get up off your knees, will you?
Well, I hope that Tyson Fury doesn't meet Joshua, because I'm afraid there'll be only one outcome. Anna, what do you think?
Oh, Tyson Fury.
Oh, yeah, million%.
So, lads, it's been a blast again. From this, we're coming to the end of this edition of The Final Whistle. So from myself and from Brian Hinchy and Anna Moore, lads, it's great to have you, and thanks for giving up your time. And until we meet again on next Monday night on this edition on their media, The Final Whistle, good evening and thanks very much, and God bless.
Bye. Bye.